It's not even you. It's my fault for giving you too much too soon.
No, it is me. I know it's me, and wallahi, I won't lie to you again. I know I can be better.
I don't think this is gonna work.
What do you mean, like this bad? Like you being my teacher?
No, I'm still bound. I just think you should study with someone else.
But I don't want another sheikh. I want you. I don't want this to be like an open thing.
I want Boomer to be your teacher. I want you to learn from this dog. Look into her eyes. All you see is purity, truth, compassion, true love. If you could become more like this dog, I think you'd be on the path. Follow her wherever she goes. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, Ramy.
Hey, good. Thank you for your which no one will understand the context of, but thank you for your scone advice that I
Did it come out well? Did it work, or did you have another one to try?
I had another scone to try. I sent you the picture of the scone I was trying to bake, and I tried the other scone. And you're right, like scones are very hard. They get very hard, and so I made adjustments. It was good.
My best piece of advice to you is not to make scones, because scones, it's very, it's a lot of work for very little return, as you saw. Anyway, I'm excited to talk to you today, not about scones, or not only about scones, but about your show, which I genuinely love. And I was trying to think this morning, like, how did I even find it? And I don't remember. I don't know that I, got it from a friend or something. I may have read something, can't remember. But I will say, the first minute I watched it, I had such a great experience. It was delight and surprise. I was sitting there watching something going, wow, this is really A, very familiar, and B, very rare on TV, on any platform. And I really love the specificity of the show and also the nuance of the show. And so I just want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know, how the hell did you get this made to begin with? Because it's very hard to get different kinds of stories out there. And it's my belief that everyone's story is important. It just matters how you tell it, hopefully in an entertaining way, and a way that is thought-provoking, which you do. So take us through the process of pitching the show, coming up with the idea, pitching the show, and then eventually, selling it to Hulu.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. First off, thank you. I mean, I think like that feeling of seeing it and seeing something really specific and also relating to it, right? I mean, even culturally, you and I have in many ways totally different families, different countries, different backgrounds, and then in the same way, one of the craziest things I heard from somebody. We were making this show and I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. And then my buddy called me and I'd sent him a link to the pilot and he was like, dude, this reminds me of Jamaicans, and I was like, I was like, that's not like totally not in the purview of what I thought was happening. Right. And I think that, the making of the show was very much an extension of the stand-up. It was very much something that, my co-creators and producers, Ari Kacher, Ryan Welch, Gerard Carmichael, they had all worked on the Carmichael show. We were talking about, what would it look like to make a show with a Muslim family, a family that is not understood, that doesn't have a point of view, that doesn't have a seat at the table. From very bare terms, that was like an entry point. And interestingly, we actually started thinking about the show as a multicam, like when we first we're thinking about it, because we were like, yeah, there's no network splash that has nuance. And at the time, they were doing that on Carmichael, and I had also acted in a multicam sitcom on Nick at Night. I had done this show, which was kind of this job that was really cool because I got a lot of on-camera experience, but it wasn't really out there. It's kind of like every actor's dream to like get to work but like maybe you're not known. Yeah, you're not known as the person from the thing. It was really cool, and I learned a lot there, and I got to work with really some of the best people. So I kind of had this idea of kind of knowing how a thing is made. I had experienced that. I had made things on my own. I was building out my stand-up, and yeah, we really wanted a human portrait of a Muslim family, something that felt vulnerable, something that felt like it had characters that any family could relate to, but then also the specificity of something that Muslims for so long have been talked about, but no one is talking with. And I think that was kind of the shift that we wanted to have in the conversation. And then pretty quickly we were seeing like what I was doing in the stand-up and how, that was going to kind of step beyond the purview of what we would do in a multicam. It felt like this should be, a single cam show, because we'll be able to step into tone in a different way, and we'll be able to really explore characters outside of network format and formula. And we put together that pitch. I mean, that pitch was like, it was like a 45-minute stand-up tape. And I remember kind of, having that and then really kind of, breaking down, I think, interestingly, I think I pitched the show differently than how I thought the show would come out, because I kind of like knew that there was a way it had to be talked about as like an umbrella idea, but I kind of knew the nuance of it would be a little bit different. Because I'll tell you, Padma, like, I think my show is actually about somebody who is a believer, who wants to believe and who kind of wants to find his faith and wants to understand his faith and his tradition, and is also very entrenched in the present moment and what's in front of him. And he's kind of like understanding how to be his higher self and how to navigate that between his lower self, and how to navigate that in understanding what that means for him. To walk into a room and kind of say that is like, it sounds like, it sounds like a bit of an ayahuasca trip, like, but it's like actually what the show is. But I think in the process of pitching it, we really focused on, being this Muslim family in a politically divided New Jersey neighborhood. I grew up in a town that was pretty split, I mean, in the way they vote, in the way that they view the world. And so that was really kind of at the core of how we went in. But we also knew, like, okay, we want to talk about this other faith piece that hasn't really been cracked in a contemporary way, hasn't been cracked for our generation, and that I think will have a universal thread, because I think people are trying to uphold their principles, whether they're spiritual or whether they're personal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you did make that show. It is actually about somebody trying to better themselves and sort of dueling within the different forces inside. It's a very interior piece, which is why it's so nuanced, I think. And yes, here it just, the vehicle or the backdrop just happens to be Islam, but it could be anything, right? It could certainly be somebody who is of Jewish faith or Christian faith. And I think that's also why it has universal appeal. Can you talk a little bit about also what it was like? You said you actually pitched the show a little bit differently. What was the process? I'm always interested in process. So what was the process of you pitching? Did you have, you said you had a 45-minute tape of stand-up, but did you actually have a pilot script, or did you just have like a log line? Because that, it's about a Muslim family who's not understood is high concept. It's about a dude who is like dueling within himself, not a high concept, right? So walk me through, more than the video, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point that you were making too, that like that faith verb, like the verb of wanting to live up to how you think. Yeah, that's across faiths. That's across any concept of higher self, lower self. That is the person who wakes up in the morning to do a 5 a.m. run, and then at 1 a.m. that same night is in the McDonald's parking lot, right? It is the rise and the fall of who I wanted to be and who I actually am, and really trying to fill that gap. And I think part of how I talked about it, I didn't have a pilot written, but we had the tape, and then we had character descriptions, and we had episode ideas, and I really kind of, I think at the time, had framed the engine of the show as like, I'm a Muslim American, but and I feel like the hyphen between the two words, Like I feel like that space where I'm being told that these are conflicting ideas and they both mean everything to me, and I want to complicate the context of how we view
Mm-hmm.
that and what that feels like. And I think that was, yeah, that was, I think, like even like my opening line of the pitch. It was almost like the pitch was kind of like a stand-up set where I'm like, well,
Right.
here's this, and then now I'm gonna, do this, and I'll make you laugh and make you think, and kind of walk people through that.
It really is a performance. I mean, for anyone who hasn't had the experience of pitching a show, it's daunting. And every network or streamer has their brand. And so whether you want to or not, you wind up tweaking your idea a little bit to, apply or be relevant to what you think they're about or they think they're about. And then, it's hard. I think there's an art really to pitching. And I think more and more, with the world the way it is, we need those stories to be told. We need those, beautiful and specific stories from everywhere. But also, if you're an actor, it's kind of hard. If you're a writer, I can always go to my desk and write. The onus is on me to get my ass up in the morning and go and write, or at least sit there for several hours and pretend to write. And as an actor, you have to wait for somebody to even give you an audition in those early years, And so I think developing your own content is really important because it allows you, first and foremost, a creative expression, somewhere to put all of your energy creatively, and actually can help you feel productive, especially now when all of Hollywood is shut down because of COVID. It's important to keep our creativity alive. And so I really think it's never the story, it's just how it's told.
Yeah, it's how it's told, and I totally agree. Like it's like a process of, we do this because we love it, right? I mean, like there is that thing of
there would be
waiting.
No other reason at first,
I mean, I remember, I don't know what the quote is or who the quote is, where it's like, if you can do anything other than act, go do that. Like it's like just go do it. Like if you can, go do it. And genuinely, I'm not qualified to do anything else. Like I would, be hungry for sure, like like anywhere else out in the world. But it is that thing where I found I had a gap. I was on that show, and then I had a gap for that's the crazy thing. I was a series regular on a show, granted a show that didn't have a ton of play, but I kind of felt coming off of that, I'm going to get a lot of auditions, and I'm going to be in the room a bunch, and people are going to know that this dude just did 50 episodes of a show, and no one cared. Like there was no, it didn't matter, and it continues to be, what is it that you want to be saying, or what is it that you're creating for yourself too. And so I think that that's a really important part of it right now. I think a lot of people can be even more creative than they think, or at least be part of teams, of making things. Like I think that's been really important, is just like even the crew that I pitched and made the show with, or any people that I was kind of making things with. You don't necessarily have to be a creator, but you want to put yourself in creative environments.
Yeah, I mean, also, if you are not, fitting the exact mold that they want, it's hard to be an actor, period, even if you're white male or blonde or whatever. But then for the rest of us, it's even harder. And the thing that you're telling me about, your phone didn't ring after doing 50 episodes of this, I can certainly relate to that. And I think, the guy who played in the live action Jungle Book also was like, I just made this movie with Jon Favreau, and he too could not get auditions, if I'm not mistaken. If that's not you, sir, I'm sorry, but it was somebody like you. Thank you. But I want to talk about also, what it means to be a creator and have ownership, because, yes, you are the star of the show, but you're also writing it and you're producing it. And most importantly, you're also directing it. So how does that work? And what's it like to wholly take ownership of that? I mean, are you running back and forth, looking at the monitor? Yeah. I just don't know what that process is like.
Again, it's team, like I think we're a low budget show too. So I don't have the time to always be looking at everything. And so it's about making sure that the right people are at the monitor. There is an element of it because I've been making sketches and short films and all that stuff probably since I was 15. And it's crazy how relevant all of that experience is, because sometimes you're working
Totally.
on something super low budget. Sometimes I've made many things that I only showed 3 or 4 people, and I spent money on them and I spent time on them, and
Mhm.
I didn't feel like putting them out. But what I saw from them and what I learned from them was really relevant and was like all that I needed, And so, that
So there was a
experience is,
seed. There was a
yeah.
seed there. And I just want to interrupt you because I always tell this, I have young women that I mentor, and I always tell them this, like, notice what you would be doing anyway if people didn't pay you to do it. And all of these things that you just while away the time doing, that is what your career should be. And those, as a performer,
Mm,
that is where your efforts should be, because clearly that's where you have an affinity for. And that
mm.
is a fountain that always gives, rather than trying to be something that somebody else has thought of, which is the nature of being an actor most of the time.
Right. I mean, and that's where it gets confusing, right? Because it's like you kind of like become an actor to step into a different persona, but in order to really have the gravitas to step into that persona, you need to know yours. And the only way to know your
Correct.
own is to do things that feed your genuine organic interests, your genuine path. And I think the thing that I can say is just it's all informative. Like I would do stand up to a cafeteria of like 10 people at noon, and I'm trying to just do some crowd work, to make $700. And I came up with a bit there that was a central premise for a TV show I ended up creating 6, 7
Yeah.
years later. Like, it's like all of it becomes really relevant and you draw from it. And so anytime you can kind of be exposing yourself to like the verb of creativity, it's like it's never a waste of time.
Yeah. I mean, I have so much respect for stand-ups. I mean, I have done 2 comedy shows in real life at the Bell House where I've just hosted it.
Yeah.
And, I've done one online. It is really hard, but when it works, you feed off the room in a way that is electrifying. Tell me what is different from, doing stand-up and working on some of those same themes or ideas and translating that to, what is basically a collaborative process of acting with other people. And you have a set, however low budget it is. I've seen the show. It looks great. And there are a lot of moving parts. So what is that like? How do you transfer? Is it really the script or is it other things?
Well, first off, I have to see a Padma stand-up set. Like that's a new goal of entertain. That's like we got to bring live.
Often.
We got to bring live events back because we got to see you do stand-up. There's that, but yeah, there's like a distilling process for sure, because I think like stand-up in general is a pretty solo endeavor. A lot of what I try to do is kind of make sure that the stand-up is point of view driven, because when it is point of view driven, it's really easy to spread that out. Because when there is like a strong idea behind something, you can think of the counter arguments and you can think of the other perspectives, and then now you have dialogue, right? So it's like, here's my stand-up bit on how I feel. I had a stand-up bit about people feeling like women are oppressed because they wear the headscarf. Like why do they make them wear that? Why? Oh my God, it's so hot in the Middle East. Why do they make them wear headscarves? And then I told a bit about how it was New Year's Eve, and I was on a date, and I saw all these women in short dresses shivering, and it was freezing, but they felt like that. And I was like, why do they make them wear that? And just that juxtaposition of in a stand-up bit, and now that's dialogue. Like, okay, one character can say this, one character. So it's like, it's because there's, again, like sometimes you're doing stand up and it's just an act out, it's just an accent or something like that. That doesn't do so well on TV, because it's like, well, that's cool for a solo performer to do in a room, but like, what's the idea behind it? And so anything that has that kind of thought pattern, it starts to kind of spread into the show. And so distilling that and kind of getting to do that has been it's a really fun process.
And what was it like to work with Mahershala Ali? I mean, he's one of my favorite actors. I just think he's riveting. I can watch him frost a cake, What was that like?
I mean, Mahershala is someone that you learn from the minute that he just walks on the set. And I think my favorite thing about him is his genuine curiosity and his genuine like there's always like there's that quote of first time every time, right? For an actor, like, you know, even if you're doing a play, if you're doing whatever, that you've done the play 40 times, but like tonight, the first time you've ever done it, you know, bringing that energy. And I think he really brings that energy from the moment he gets dropped off at set. Like everything is first time every time for him. And I learned a lot from watching him. You know, he's kind of like legendary to me in the way that he brings his presence on screen.
Yes.
But off screen, it's not like the legend Mahershala has arrived. It's like, oh wow, this is someone who's like really here to like be part of the team and figure out how to make this thing better. And he's genuinely asking questions, and he's really working just as hard, if not harder, than anybody else here. And that kind of dedication obviously showed on screen. Like you can kind of tell, you're like, wow. And it just, yeah, he really just helped everything in so many ways. I learned as an actor from him. I learned being a director, everything. It's just the best questions. He has the best questions.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I love, this is a weird comment, but I really appreciate his focus.
Yeah.
You know, his laser focus. He's so still in his body and yet so calm and forceful. And I think that is, to me, riveting to watch and super, super powerful.
Yeah, it's like it's the ability to be present, I think, is what art kind of goes for, right? Like that's what we want, the ability to be present with an idea on screen, and then the audience wants the ability to love something so much that they're so present with it, they're not thinking about anything else. So it's all about presence, you know? And so it's like when someone like him, that focus you're talking about, that is presence. That's like genuinely being present. And that is, yeah, that's like really, really intoxicating and contagious and really awesome to be a part of.
And how many writers do you have working on any given episode of the show? What's the writer's room like?
We have a very collaborative kind of, but also like, you know, they're like writers' rooms for people who've like worked on shows and kind of even heard about the process are often in many ways kind of like 9-to-5 jobs, like on a lot of rooms where it's like, you come in, you order lunch, and we're going to work, and we need to get this episode done by this date, like that whole thing. Our show's a bit different. We kind of, one, we don't order lunch. I hate ordering lunch with a group of people because I don't like picking a restaurant. I don't like picking a restaurant. I don't like waiting for the food to come. I don't like eating it and then everyone getting tired. So we kind of try to do a room where we're a shorter lunchless room, ton of snacks. Like I'm all about snacks. So we got like just all the snacks. But you know, we try to really like deconstruct the writer's room process, especially. And I think on this show, everything obviously goes through me because it's my name, and I take a lot of authorship of like the physical writing, but the story breaking and the, you know, back and forth writing, all that stuff, I really rely on a team that just like makes it so much better. Like this is not like a one-man show. Like if like our writer's room is a really diverse, awesome group of people that just make the show so much better than I could have ever dreamed of. And this isn't the type of show that's like, I, you know, sat in my basement and came up with everything and then came out with like the whole thing. This is like something that is genuinely me bringing my stand-up, me bringing the things that keep me up at night, me bringing these ideas, me having a sense of knowing how I want it to turn out. But everything in the middle is so connected with this group of people that yeah, like we wouldn't have the show without them, you know.
Yeah, because that's why I was asking about the writer's room, because it's so specific. And this is my last question. I mean, I have tons of questions, but I can't keep you that long. What has the reception been in the Muslim community? And, you know, I'm say Muslim community with I know, which is like a horrific thing to say, you know, but like from various Muslim groups, like what have you heard? I'm sure you've heard a lot, like Egyptian Americans and just, you know, very conservative Muslims and perhaps secular Muslims in this country and abroad, because you won a Golden Globe, by the way. Congratulations. I was very happy for you.
Thank you. It's been really, it's like you just said, the way you laid out the variety of different people that fall under the umbrella of the word Muslim. There is no Muslim community that is centralized. Interestingly, even within Islam itself, the religion is not centralized like, say, Christianity. There's no Vatican, right? There is no, like, Islam is actually, as a faith, built on differentiation of thought, various schools of thought and scholarship that are supposed to be in debate. And I would say the digestion of the show probably similarly follows suit. Egyptian Americans love it. Egyptians love it. Then you have some more conservative or other groups who are like, I don't like this. And then you also have like a real disadvantage that I would say all the groups have equally, which is that we're the one of, if not the only show from a Hollywood perspective made in America that is trying to actually speak to and with the variety of Muslim communities. And that's like a really unrealistic, unfair weight on, you know, such a show, but also for like an audience, right? And so from a marketing perspective, it's kind of insulting. If you imagine you're Muslim and the internet, the world is trying to tell you, we got a show for you, Ramy. There you go. And it's like, wait, what? Like, this is, you know, I'm a Black Muslim. I'm a different, you know, I'm a different group. I'm not a guy from New Jersey that watches too much porn. Like, you know, like that's not, you know, if you're not that, this isn't you. And so there's kind of an inherently unfair scarcity situation, you know.
Have you guys talked about Sufism on the show yet?
Yeah, we dig into it a lot in the second season. Yeah, second season is we start to kind of really dip into it in a cool way. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing all of those episodes that I haven't kept up with. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much for the great questions. It's so good to see you. And yeah, I'll just send you stuff again. Like I only cook things at like 350, but I'll just send you anything that I made it. I'll just, you know.
You're very welcome to text me food pics. I have a collection of people close to me who I'm their emergency phone a friend. So I can be your phone a friend for that. I'm happy to be. All right. Take care, Ramy. And congratulations on the show. It's wonderful.
Thanks so much.